Hi there, this is Krista Bedwin, and this is a little video to talk about fonts, a few factors about fonts and old-fashioned and new-fashioned, and what we can do with fonts to make our writing pop a little bit more. So I'm just going to share the screen here to show you some fonts. So here we have the most standard fonts we use these days are Calibri, Arial, and Times New Roman. So Times New Roman is the one that a lot of us grew up with. It's the old type that you tend to see in novels and books and newspapers in the old times. So a lot of people feel very comfortable with Times New Roman. However, with the advent of the internet and the fact that almost all of us read a lot more internet than we read books, Calibri and Arial are becoming actually much more common to use, and many people are more comfortable with those, and you will actually find that they are faster to read. So when I say they're faster to read, I mean that there are people who actually study the speed of reading and how quickly people read things. So you see I have some other videos about readability and ways to make things faster to read. But just Calibri and Arial are a little bit more built for speed. Times New Roman is kind of built for contemplation and expecting that people are going to, think about how you engage with poetry. You roll the words around in your mind and ponder them, and nobody's in a hurry. So you need to think about, are you writing something that people want to be in a hurry, or are you writing something that people are going to want to sit with for a long time? And how many cut pieces of writing do people want to actually sit with for a long time these days is another question. So now another thing that is kind of more of a rookie mistake, but we do not want to be using in business, ornate fonts, bold fonts, or scripty fonts. Pretty much the only place that I use those fonts anymore at all would be on the covers of books. So now, in terms of being easy to read, as I mentioned, those Calibri and Arial are considered easier to read. And there is a font called Dyslexie font, which was totally designed, again, with a lot of scientific data backing it and actual functional reasons as to why this works better. This Dyslexie typeface helps people with dyslexia read better. If you actually buy that font, it will also even read things out loud and has other strategies for people with dyslexia. But this is also, if you think about it, this is also just going to be a supremely readable font. So now, why is it that Times New Roman is, as I said, more traditional and feels more established and trustworthy? The key to that, and the reason with those old-fashioned fonts, is that it's a serif font. So what a serif is these little circled red tails on the letters. So again, those copper plate Gothic sort of things that started with the original printing presses that, Bibles were originally printed with, are those serif typefaces. So the more modern typefaces that people are getting more accustomed to now, and pretty much the only thing you're seeing on the internet and whatnot, are the sans serif typefaces. So both Arial and Calibri that I showed before are in those sans serif ones. So they would be more modern. So now, if you're selling a new idea to somebody, so for example, if we're doing proposals, if you're selling a new innovation, probably you want people to believe that your new innovation, like robots, if you think of robot fonts too, right? You want it to be modern, clean, and approachable. You don't really want them to think that your idea is traditional, established, and trustworthy if it's a new innovation, probably. I mean, you can think about what you want to sell and how you want to sell your ideas. But if you want to sell an idea that something is modern and all of that in a bag of chips, you may want to go with the more modern typefaces. So then to look here at some of the brand names that are very common, and I put the reference for the blog post that did this below. Sans serif, so modern, hip, up and coming sort of things, Airbnb, Citibank, Facebook, LinkedIn, Macy's, those are all like, kind of hip things. Serif, so Vogue, JP Morgan, and Coach, they are sort of selling themselves on the idea that they've been cool for a really long time. T-Mobile, interestingly, a cell phone company, but they're going with the older fashioned one. So they're probably trying to get the idea around that they're sort of business-like or academic. So this is just something to consider. It's not like a hard and fast rule, but this is a small thing that can have actually a large effect on what your clients think about the message that you're writing to them. So it's not just the words that we use and how we use those words, but it's also how we present those words. And something as small as the font can actually make a big difference in how you're perceived in the business world. So something to think about. If you have any questions, just drop me a line. I'm always happy to hear what you think.